Hi, my name is Dan Thompson. I'm CFA faculty chair here at the New York Academy of Art. I teach Drawing 1 and I teach Drawing 2, which are anchor courses. They're pivotal, essential courses for the CFA program, and have been so since we designed it. We created the CFA program in 2015. We wrote it and designed it to be a standalone elite program to take place essentially in a shorter time frame with the same set of rigor and skill building that people normally associate with the MFA program here at the Academy. The CFA students come from all walks of life. Many times they come from different countries where they can get one-year visas to study here in the United States and then return to their countries to pursue careers that they wouldn't have had access to were it not for the education that they receive in the program. We also get students who are second career folks who arrive with a certain degree of expertise and professionalism, certainly a maturity, and we embrace those kinds of students as well. They generally do very well when they apply themselves to learning the skills within this program. We also get students who are interested in the MFA program. They want to apply, but they don't feel ready, and therefore CFA has the unique capacity to empower them, get them prepared for MFA matriculation here at the Academy. And then we occasionally get an MFA graduate who wants to continue within the New York Academy's learning culture, which is quite unique. And they also do very unique work within the CFA program. And I believe that has a lot to do with this very specialized culture. I call it a culture of learning or a learning culture because the kinds of dialogue that you have, the sort of discourse that takes place in under this roof is unlike any other place. And this is certainly the case for every school. Name your school and you're going to have a certain kind of dialogue that goes on within that program, within those interactions with the teachers and the students. But that which takes place here has always been, like I said, uniquely attractive to me. It's kept me here. I was a graduate of the New York Academy in 1999, so I essentially, in a certain way, have continued as a student for 30 years almost here at the Academy because I just find it so fascinating, and the kinds of dialogue that we have are deeply inspiring and sustain a lifetime of creativity. The CFA level teaching breaks down the disciplines of drawing, for example, and my specialty is in drawing and in teaching drawing. And what I like to see in the way that drawing is presented to a student is if you can unpack the skills and not so much treat the skills as a matter of method or methodology, but as comprehension and understanding. So we take something like proportion. If you could take proportion as a topic or a subject and flesh it out into a number of different options or choices which empower an individual to gauge for themselves how to ascertain proportional harmony or clarity. There may be a great many things they can do, such as finding the halfway moments on the figure. They can go into a canon of proportions. They can investigate concepts of three-point relationships, such as triangulation, and various sorts, using the environment around the subject or the envelope. These are things that we try to present in this program that are outside of a methodology, which is critical because when somebody emerges to do their own work, they're going to have their own voice. They need to have their own cadence, and we have to support that. And when they learn to draw, we're not trying to indoctrinate them into a drawing system. You're not supposed to be beholden to being a classical artist, whatever that means. What you want to be able to do is pursue your own creative instincts with a capacity to manifest them onto canvas, onto paper. And so in the CFA program, we go a little bit more toward the fundamentals because it's within the fundamentals that the advanced knowledge is hidden. The first thing is when people come into the program, oftentimes there's a feeling about ways of traditional study which is expected. That is, they come in, they arrive, and they think, this is how I'm going to study things. And suddenly they see a naked person on a stage, and they're kind of thrown by that because some of them are fairly young and they're sort of new to the idea and the concept of studying the figure. But the figure has always been the rite of passage of all great art and artifice. The human body is literally the embodiment of a vast degree of concepts and disciplines which are really infinite. I mean, the majesty of the body and the nature of it spawns all sorts of ways of thinking about edge work and aesthetics and idealization, and the fact that they are us, it makes it a profound way of looking at art, of looking at training. So when they come into the program, once they see the naked body on the stage, they quickly realize that the last thing that they're thinking about is nakedness, because there's an atmosphere in here of reverence, of quiet contemplation around the nature of aesthetics surrounding the human body. And that really goes to how this CFA program is unique, because it's based on the study of as I say, the majestic human figure. And once we build upon that, I think they quickly mature and they gain an appreciation of why they're steeped in this art form and why that art form matters to them, why it's relevant in the past, and why it could be an extremely vital force for them in the future, how it could give their lives meaning, how they could look at themselves, because looking at the human body really is self-reflection, and it becomes self-revelatory once you see the body, once you think about using the figure and crafting these stories around human interaction, anecdotes, legends, myths, whatever, that I think appeal to them almost instinctively or almost unconsciously, so that when they matriculate further and they investigate art history, they find further ways of connecting with the past so that they can look at the future. Along that trajectory, we try to build the skills up further. We talk to them about compositional thinking. We try to lay out a set of concepts that deal with contemporary design, contemporary storytelling, as John calls it, visual texts, which is a wonderful way to put it, visual storytelling. And this is a critical thing because when we're talking to them about this, it's in the middle. It's literally like a bridge between the fundamental or basic concepts, the introductory ideas, and the production stages, the part at the end when they're making thesis work, when they're creating a body of work. And so I think a big part of the success of our CFA program has been the timing, because anybody would imagine if they're doing a painting or drawing and they have a pretty good idea, if they put a good idea in at the wrong time, it can destroy a piece. But if you put a good idea, especially an educational idea, in at the right time, it can fertilize, it can sustain, it can empower, and it can energize a person's trajectory in their learning. And I think the magic of this CFA program is its timing as well as its concepts. Well, to continue a little bit into the MFA, just to contrast that, because I've taught in the MFA program for 23 years, the MFA program feels to me a little bit more about preparation for the second year, which is primarily involved in thesis and what has been sometimes called ideation, or the ideas and concepts which create a story that can help a person really move into the theoretical concepts of their compositions and things of that nature. And to the extent that people are in MFA in the drawing program that I teach, they are usually anticipating the second year. They're thinking a lot about how the two fit together. And I think that is both a tremendous positive for the Academy and for their MFA program, because it involves a lot of teaching and a lot of interaction and feedback. It is also a bit of a burden on them because they have that expectation of only having a finite amount of time to learn the basic skills. And so what I find refreshing about CFA is they don't have that burden as much. What we have is a one-year program of three consecutive trimesters or 3 consecutive semesters. And what they do in those semesters is they front load a lot of the skill, and then they work toward a thesis at the end in the third semester, a kind of mini thesis, if you will. And I think that gives them a nice balanced look at what creativity can entail, the various levels of creative thinking and performance, because a lot of it is going to be exercise and skill building, whereas other kinds of things are going to be about their concepts, about their stories that they want to tell. I mean, what I would want people to be aware of, because when we sit down and talk about these issues, the last thing that we want them to feel like is an infomercial. And we don't want to put something out there that's somehow unrealistic in terms of its appeal, that sounds too much like a selling pitch. And what I would want people to realize is that we're not looking for every single person to apply. We're not looking for individuals, far and wide to file their applications so that we can accept every human being. When I first came to the Academy, because I wanted to get a gauge of whether I was on the right trajectory. And that's the kind of student that we want. We want a realistic person who is committed and dedicated and willing to work and ready to mature, serious, will come in and see the vocation of studying art as something that isn't a kind of sideline excuse or holding vocation for the serious pursuit that they'll endeavor later to pursue, to embark upon, but rather something that is probably more complicated than studying medicine, is more intricate than studying business, because it's so wide open. It's going to require a deep intellect, an agile mind, a person with an incredible work ethic, willing to make sacrifices in their life that many people are not willing to make for the sake of something that they not only want to do professionally, but that they dream of being successful at, they dream of being legendary at. And those kinds of individuals are not everyday people. So therefore, I'd say that the person that I'm looking for is not anybody. It's a specific person who feels like they have a calling to come to a school like this and excel.